You're not really waiting for a relationship. What you're waiting for is to get your needs met. I've just got in from the garden, so excuse the random collection of outfits. This week we are talking about the whole pattern of waiting for him to commit, waiting for him to come back, waiting for him to make a decision on whether or not he wants a relationship. When I say he, if it's she for you, then use she. It doesn't matter. By all means, change the gender labels if that applies to you. When you're in the energy of waiting for he, she, them to come back, here's what's really going on. So you're not really waiting for him to commit. You're not really waiting for a relationship. What you're waiting for is to get your needs met. And I'm going to say that again. What you're waiting for is to get your needs met. And that isn't an accident. That comes from somewhere, and it can come from childhood, and it can also come from soul memories, and we're going to cover both today. So the situation in childhood that may have caused you to wait to get your needs met is when you, on the slightly more benign end of the scale, you used to wait for your dad to come home, right? Or your mum, depending, but generally male figure. You waited for him to come home, right? And there was this energy of waiting for him to get back and putting a certain element of your evening on hold until he was back. You were waiting for him to come back. Even if that was a really positive experience for you, it's still this habit of, I'm waiting for a man to come back. Does that make sense? Even if your relationship with your dad was really good, it's, I'm waiting for him. He is coming to me and I am in the same place and I am waiting, and I'm not going to go and, play with my toys or go out in the garden. I'm going to sit at the window and I'm going to wait for him. Again, even if that was a positive thing, it was perceived as positive at the time and you were excited to see him again. That's actually a really beautiful thing, right? But it's still this pattern of waiting. So there's that. There's the waiting for the father figure to return. Of course, that can go in another way entirely. It can be waiting to see your dad, if he was not in the family home, if he didn't have full custody, perhaps he was even incarcerated, like whatever the situation was, there's this pattern of, I had to wait for him, he wasn't fully present, right? Now on the flip side of that, there is also the whole thing of inconsistent care. All right, inconsistent care in the family home. So what that means is there was chaos in the home, right? It was a slightly chaotic environment. You were always waiting for your caregiver or caregivers, right? Parents usually, but it depends if you had a guardian or whatever the situation was. You were waiting for them to come home and feed you, right? And this doesn't necessarily mean it went as extreme as neglect, but it might have done. You were waiting for them to come back so that you could have basic needs met, like being fed, right? So this inconsistent care. It's this waiting for the caregiver to come home. Now, this is more than likely going to be the case, and it's probably going to be quite extreme for you if there was mental illness or emotionally unhealthy people, and or narcissism, and or addiction, and or dysfunction. Because what you learn in that environment is that your needs were not the most important, that someone else's needs were the most important. And so you were absolutely getting used to not having your needs met and waiting to have your needs met, even if it was basic things like eating, right? You were waiting to do that and to meet basic needs because someone else in the home had needs that took precedent over that. So it's really difficult for us as very sensitive beings. When we were children, we were very sensitive then, although we didn't have the language to describe it. And so we saw what was going on in our home. We felt the chaos. We intuitively knew that there was a lot going on. So we didn't want to upset the apple cart, right? We didn't want to rock the boat. And so we kept really quiet about what we needed, even if what we needed was really, really basic. And there might be a part of our adult brain now that's like, well, I had my needs met. I was given food and shelter and clothing, but our needs are so much more in our development. Our needs are so much more than food, shelter, and clothing. That's like basic. You know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When it comes to our development, it's really time and love and affection and emotional support. It's all those things, and that will more than likely not have occurred if you were raised in a home that was very chaotic, especially if there was things like addiction, narcissism. And even if it wasn't that extreme and you're like, you know what, I don't think I could classify it as addiction or any of those things, I don't think it has a label, that actually it does have a label, and that label is dysfunctional, right? You're in a dysfunctional home, because that can be a really big thing when you come to that acceptance of it was dysfunctional, right? It's affected you because your needs were not met. Now, hey everyone, I hope you really enjoyed that clip. It was actually an excerpt from Infinite Love, my digital course. It's one of the free lessons as part of the course, so go to the link in the description below and you can get the full lesson. It's about half an hour. There's loads of journaling prompts. It's really, really juicy. So definitely go check that out, and I really hope it'll deepen your understanding of why it is you're waiting for him or her or them to come back. It really is this pattern that's learned of, as you saw in the clip, not having your needs met and repeating that, of waiting for someone to come to you, of waiting to have what you desire, of waiting to have your needs met, of waiting, and not having the habit and or the skill set to self-soothe, which means to help yourself to feel better. So I really hope you'll accept that invitation of digging into that full lesson. If this has resonated with you in any way, please do drop a comment down below. I see all of them and I love reading them, and you're all so kind and so lovely. So thank you so much. Share it, comment, like, and of course subscribe so you get notified of new videos. There's also, this is very exciting, there's a meditation coming later this week, and I'm very excited to share that with you. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.